Dave, we're here at the CCA Workbench. It's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques, as you know.
My easiest day ever when you're talking about tarpon. Because I don't know nothing about tarpon.
Yes, you do.
I never really chased them that much, you know. I've caught some little ones in the creeks with high and hooked a lot of them with bouncer and handed them to other people.
Yeah.
But I haven't really done that much tarpon fishing. So I came to you about this, and I said, hey, man, if I went down to the Keys and wanted to go under a bridge or anchor up somewhere and try to catch them, I thought the easiest way instead of out trying to stalk them down with a fly or something.
Right.
How would you go about doing it? And you said you would tell us exactly how to do that.
Certainly a very popular way throughout the whole state. Mm-hmm. Since Rodan, of course, we have the anchor mode. And so what we like to do is we like to see the fish rolling. I like to identify where the fish are up current and get up current of them. And at that point, then I'll put...
You think it's always important to see them first before you
I think so. You got to know that they're there. Maybe it's just one.
Right.
Or you can use on your Garmin on the side image, you can mark them, drive through the bridge and look down and look for them if you're like at Long Key Bridge in the Florida Keys.
Right.
But there's a lot of places throughout the state that you can use your electronics to find them. The key is once you establish where they are, and this is the depth of water they're swimming, set your anchor on anchor mode on your Rodan like we do, and then now you're in position. After that, it becomes really elementary.
Right.
And so now you got to decide what the baits are that you're going to use. So you have mullet, you have pinfish, you have crabs, you have thread fins, and you have pilchards. So let's quickly go through. If we've rigged this spinning rod with some 20-pound high vis monofilament, which is still, some guys like to use monofilament. I prefer braid myself, but it doesn't really matter. Here's what the thing that you need to understand. You're going to use a 7/0 circle hook as a good place to start because there's enough gap here in this Eagle Claw trocar that is going to slide into that clipper on the side of his face, or it also will come up on the button in the top part of his lip, and that's where it always seems to end up.
Right.
But if this was our mullet, we would want to go to a 9/0 because
a mullet's bigger.
You're going to go in his mouth, and then pop it out the top of his head like so. And a 9/0 is going to give you a little more space because the skull...
Because the mullet takes up a lot of the gap.
So go to an 8/0 or a 9/0 like that trocar there. Mm-hmm. If it's a thread fin or if it's a pilchard, Dave, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the side of his nostrils like so, and then he's going to be able to swim with that. And now it's also swimming, it actually is through his nostrils and allows him to swim freely.
A little 7/0's a lot lighter for those baits, too.
That's correct. You can go to a 6/0 if it's a pilchard because a 7/0 is a big wire hook. The wire on a 5 and a 6 is the same size. A 7 and 8 and a 9 is the same size.
I gotcha.
All right. So once we've established that, one last thing. If it's a pinfish, you want to hook him right in front of the dorsal fin like so and pop it out just like that. So it's not in it, it's more in his shoulder. And the reason why this works so well is the pinfish by nature wants to dive to the bottom. Now, how do we eliminate him from getting to the bottom? Really simple. We're going to cork him. We're going to use a cork to keep him from getting in the bottom. So let's convert over to our conventional rod. It can use a spinning rod or a bait casting rod, in either case fishing live baits. All right, so if this is our pinfish, we're going to go in his shoulder like I just showed you. We're going to come out the top like so. But then if you zoom out here, we're going to have... I use 5 feet as a good number because if you're fishing in 8 feet of water, this pinfish is going to be digging and he's going to be trying to get down. And you can use a cork for all of the fish that I talked about. I don't usually use one on the mullet because the mullet stays on the surface and you get those real explosive bites. For sure, you're going to use a cork to keep that crab from getting in the bottom. You're going to hook the crab in the corner of the mouth. I mean, in the corner of his... On the point, exactly. Now... I said I was going to share something with you guys. Here's what I'm going to tell you, the key. If you're anchored up, let's say we're anchored here and we're facing down current. Dave, here's what's so important. I want to throw as far as I can at 9 o'clock to the boat, and I want to throw as far as I can at 3 o'clock. So now what I've done is I've essentially, like in offshore world, I'm creating an
Put 2 outriggers out there.
The key is to keep the line going. Keep free lining, even though you're going to get a bow in the line. If you stop letting the line out, Dave, what ends up happening is it's going to end up straight behind the boat, and that's going to eventually happen anyway. But you can let that cork go out, 100 yards, 120 yards.
You keep giving it free spool, it'll keep going down that line that you cast.
Exactly. And then that way, it's straight behind the boat. Once they're back behind the boat, here's another thing, and then we'll quit here. You want to reel it back slow because you haven't fished that. You haven't fished from the cork where they ended up to where they get back. You get a lot of bites on the retrieve as long as you're reeling slow and your bait's not skipping on the surface.
There you go.
Well, there you have it.
Maybe I should go.